All right, hello everybody. My name is Sam. This is my channel, Sam Soul Art, and this is my video vlog series where I give an update on my personal artist residency / sabbatical pursuing art full-time adventure. And so it has been week 23 now, and we are nearly 6 months into this journey. And in this week, I'm going to be, or at least this video, I'm going to be talking about what I did this week, some challenges, and what things are looking for like going forward at this 6-month mark. And so when it comes to things that I did this week, I did anatomy and figure drawing studies. I've also been learning about story structure, which has been helping me. If you have characters and you've got a kind of a world and you're still trying to figure out the story, this is whatever I've been doing, it's been helping. And I've been doing a lot of extracurricular stuff on the side, and that's been fun. But overall, I'm going to be talking about kind of like my philosophy and approach to discipline and flow these past couple weeks, which I've been trying out, and just different challenges I've been facing, and where it's going to be going forward for the next 3 months. So let's get started. So this past couple weeks, I've been learning anatomy and figure drawing. Now, I've never done anatomy and figure drawing studies before. Well, actually, I've done figure drawing, but not much anatomy. And, you know, I've learned the landmarks, the basic landmarks of the human body, but anatomy is like a whole other beast, which I've been kind of scared as an artist to undertake. But I'm just taking it one step at a time, and I'm just curious. And as I've been doing it, I've been learning a lot. And I've been taking the Proko online course for figure drawing and anatomy. I think I already had one of the courses that I got a while back, but I just never worked on it really that much. So I'm like, all right, you know. So I've been doing that, and that's been really helpful. And now when I see other artists who are drawing their characters, I'm like, oh, they're putting those bones and those muscles and those landmarks in there, and it's like I know what I'm looking at now. It's kind of like similar to like coding. I know, like, when I look at video games, I know what it probably looks like underneath the hood. But for anatomy as artists and see how the way they do art, I wasn't really familiar, but now I am. So it's really cool to understand and know that language now. But I think like the thing about the way I'm studying this is I'm just trying to hold to the philosophy that I've been holding this past couple of weeks, is just to prioritize what I'm interested in over what I should be doing, and draw from interest and joy. And so this anatomy studies, it's been actually kind of relaxing. And so it's just been nice in that sense. I'll speak more to that philosophy that I've been following over the past couple of weeks. But the other thing that I was doing this week, or the past couple of weeks, is learning more about story structure and development. And so I've been reading this book called Creating Character Arcs. Is this freaking backwards? By K.M. Weldon. And I'm about a fourth of the way through this, but you know, I am reading this book, and it has just been really great for applying a lot of these things that I have 3 other stories that I have. I mean, Mega Girl's the one thing that came up during this journey. And then there's another IP world that I've been working on called White Wolf, and another one called Okie Oats. And as I've been reading this book, I'm just getting more ideas of how to better structure story and getting more ideas for that. And I've just been catching stuff in notes and document. And yeah, so learning story. If you're someone who is looking to learn story or create it for whether a comic or a graphic novel or a children's book, this stuff is a good idea to get into. So I'm glad I'm doing that. And I'd say lastly, when it comes to side journey developments, I've been working on, I've been doing a little bit of the color comps. So I can share a little bit here of what those color comps have been looking like. I've also been making a music video with my dog. I signed up for a woodworking course to explore building a katatsu. The next week, I'm actually going to be doing body painting for a dance event, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'll have some updates for that. I've been working on my dream plan for watermelon farming because that's something else that I'm into. It's not quite related to art, but I do like to draw watermelons. I've been working on a side, like a slapstick animation that was from like a comic that I did way years ago. And so I've been messing with that. I've been sketching here and there, and I've been reading a whole lot of manga just to also understand like manga story structure and kind of like just checking more of that stuff out because manga is like, it's crazy. So going back to kind of like following the philosophy of the past 2 weeks, with following my interest and my joy of creating, like the 2 weeks prior, I was doing a whole lot of structure and it felt pretty rigid and I was having anxiety. So I decided to make this next 2 weeks more about like, hey, let's just prioritize what does feel good and just go with the flow. And I still made time. Mostly it was for anatomy and, learning about story structure and a little bit of my animation. But I had all these other things like I just rattled off on the list that I was exploring and getting into and that was coming up. And I think those things are great. And it's awesome. And so I'm really learning more of the value of going with the flow and trusting that. And kind of like when I wake up in the morning, it's not just getting right into drawing. It's like, well, maybe I need to go outside and do a hike. Maybe I need to do some meditation or take a longer walk with my dog. Or maybe it's just working on a sewing project. So I'm just trying to get in tune with listening to that, like what is really just the thing that I want to be getting into. But this next week, my plan is to be disciplined again, but with my art animation project because my color comping and that pre-production for my 2D animation has been going pretty slow. I want to finish this pre-production by at least the end of October at most. And I just want to get it out of the way. I want it done and I want to get started on animating. And so I'm going to experiment with pushing forward on that front. Not on every front, not, of these other different projects I'm doing, just that one. So that is probably how I'm going to be approaching next couple weeks, is just going to be pushing really hard up against that one and seeing how that goes and maybe flowing with the rest of it. And just trusting if I'm going to be making time for anatomy and figure drawing, I'll make time for it. But, part of this time off and pursuing art full time has been about working on this particular project. And so I want to bring my priorities back here. And, it's just been hard working on this color comp and stuff. So let's just see what happens when we start to really push up on it. And so I know I said what's kind of like going to be happening in the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to switch gears to what's been most challenging the past couple weeks, aside from balancing, structure and flow. The other thing that's been challenging is just protecting my energy. Once again, this has been the lesson for my entire sabbatical up until now. And it's just, I went to an event last week. At a people I knew. It was a small gathering, and I left feeling drained and and kind of cruddy. And then the next morning, I just didn't have the energy. I needed to play recuperation, recover with myself, and doing art and projects just wasn't in the bag. And that does upset me because like when I make these decisions to go out and want to get connection with others, when really the lesson is like I ought to be staying home and spending time connecting with myself. And it makes me understand, like, when it comes to an artist residency, why minimal distractions is such a thing, where it's out in the middle of nowhere, usually with these residencies, and just a sense of privacy and being close to nature, unless you're in New York doing this or a city. But just how even, spending time with other folks or going to other events, can take away. And not unless they nourish and feed me, then I'll go do them. But I'm kind of trying to have better discernment about which things I ought to and not participate in. I've uninstalled some games from my computer. I love playing Overwatch, but sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I'll still like to play Overwatch, but the thing is, like, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't bring me back to equilibrium. If I'm having a bad day and I go watch the sunset, that at least pushes the needle back to equilibrium, or going on a hike or doing something like low key. But I'm noticing there's just certain things that are more of, if I'm in a not such a hot space with myself, they become more of a vice. Like, I think like having a beer every once in a while, that's great, but like maybe having 2 or 3, not so great. I don't really do that, but like just trying to make a metaphoric example here. And just trying to do better with that. I've been doing some blocking some websites just during the week, or apps, just so I'm not really looking at them. I know that if I'm working on a piece of art and then some cool YouTube talk or podcast comes on, and I'll try to listen to it while doing the art. And sometimes some podcasts I can listen to while doing art, depending also on the art. Like if I'm just doing line work rather than design, or if it's what is it? Or if the talk, depending on the intensity of the talk. But like sometimes it just takes me out of what I really want to be doing. And so, yeah, just more protection of energy, and, so I can protect my creative time and my projects. And it's a lot different when you've got like maybe only a small window during a day that you have to devote to your art or your creations, like 30 minutes or an hour. But if I have like 6 to 8 hours a day that I'm wanting to devote, but it's getting kind of, there's more to protect there. So anyways, this is my video. If you watched it, thanks for watching. Otherwise, until next time, see you later.